Hark the bardic paladin, who sings and plays again. He tells the tales of glory and weaves a magic story. He'll join you at your table and ask you to share a fable. Heroes of humble origin, villains who must be fought again. No matter their skill or prowess, the people in life are countless. So we pray you heed our request. Enjoy this tale of sidekicks and side quests.
Episode 161, Sarcastique Under-Tony, the Hexblood Accountant. Welcome to Sidekicks and Side Quests, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that helps to put humans back into humanity and breathe life into your campaign NPCs with backstory and bravado. That's right, we're building a world, one character at a time. I am your host, Kurt Krenwelge, the Bardic Paladin, and I'll be joining Charlie the Inked GM's table in the Levitating Platter. Hello, and welcome to another month's exciting episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests, the best unofficial Dungeons & Dragons podcast in my humbly biased opinion. I've got an awesome guest for you this month, but before I reveal who that might be, I have to leave you in suspense with the ad read. This podcast is brought to you by Plus One EXP and their brand new RPG Zine Club. It's a golden age of indie and small press RPGs. For the last several years, Plus One has made it our mission to help new indie creators and small press imprints get their products onto tables worldwide. Our highest goal is to create more sustainable and equitable pathways to getting games made and played. Now we want to take on our most ambitious project yet with RPG Zine Club. What is RPG Zine Club? It is a monthly membership subscription service featuring fresh zines from emerging and expanding creators across the globe. It's our way of inviting GMs, players, and zine lovers everywhere to invest more intentionally in the creative community. It's crowdsourced support without crowdfunding. Now, what are some of the features you have to look forward to when you join the RPG Zine Club? Well, you've got monthly releases with 20 to 44 page saddle stitch zines. Take your pick from story zines, adventure zines, or get both kinds. You can get print and digital or digital only of your favorite titles. Join the Clubhouse Discord. It's a section of our online community for club members to discuss and play new titles. Get the best prices guaranteed. You can select your frequency of how often you'd like titles, and you can get what you want and only get what you want. If you miss a month, there's no worries there. You can add recent titles to your month's order and get an annual surprise each February after your first anniversary. Get access to special content, including interviews, how to play videos, and special content for Zine Club titles. Do you like free pizza? Fill out one of the RPG Zine Club passports and redeem it for free pizza at events. You're going to get to encounter new and known designers. We source the best voices from across the RPG design community. We curate zines based on community interest and feedback to help you discover your new favorite creators. We are DIE focused. Plus One is committed to championing diversity, inclusion, and equity in our projects. Creators with diverse experiences make our community better. Zine Club prioritizes creating equity for all of our creators. And it's more than a purchase. Your subscriptions will let us invest more heavily in our print partners and provide them with potentially life-changing support by consolidating scores or hundreds of purchases as the club grows. So, if you want more details, please be sure to go to the website rpgzine.club. And this all can be found also by going to the website plus1exp.com. On that website, if you're making a purchase for a beard balm, a lip balm, beard RPG, or whatnot, and you're looking for a code to use at checkout, be sure to use the code Randolph, RANDOLPH, and save some coin on your purchase. Again, the website to get the discounts from me and provide a kickback to me to help support the podcast would be plus1exp.com with code Randolph. And be sure to go and check out the brand new rpgzine.club. All right. And after that ad read, and everyone is riveted and they're waiting. So without further ado, hello, mystery contestant. Would you care to Introduce yourself, tell us who it is that you are and what is it that you do.
Hello. Yes, I am Charlie. Also go by the Inked GM on social media, or Ink Game Master on Twitch. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, I'll be doing some fun things over there. But yeah, I'm also a
Sweet.
humble co-host of the Story Crafters podcast, and just really grateful and happy to be here.
Yes, we've had Nicole on twice, and so I know Nicole was like, "Oh yeah, the guys that I'm with, they'd love to be on here." And you were one of the first ones to jump at the opportunity, and so it's been scheduling and moving heaven and earth to get this to happen.
Yes, I do apologize,
No, no,
but I'm
nothing
so
to
grateful for
apologize
you, man.
for. I believe everyone should be able to live their lives and, deal with what they got to deal without feeling any needs or pressures or anything like that. So I'm just happy that you're here.
Well, thank you. And feeling is very mutual, but huge credit and shout out to you just as a person, man. Not even just a podcast host. You're just a really genuine and nice guy, and that's what Nicole has said. And just really happy to be here again. So thanks.
Yes. And for those not in the know and those not listening to the Story Crafters podcast, shame on you. But no, the Story Crafters it's well, I mean, I think, with one of the hosts here, it'd be great to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But from my perspective, it's like a communal hangout of like four DMs, game masters, who are spouting off interesting opinions and bits of tidbits of lore from the Forgotten Realms, and then just having really good, interesting discussions on different facets and topics related to the TTRPG hobby. Would you say that's pretty accurate description?
Yeah, Jeff is the one who kind of like wrangled us all in and brought us in to come together and chat. And one of the things that I really liked was, I feel like a lot of times when I look up stuff for D&D online, it's very player centric and focused, which
Mhm.
is nothing wrong with that. That is the majority of the people that are in the TTRPG space are players. They outnumber the GMs. But that being said, I think it's also really nice when you can have places that are just really GM focused and tips, tricks, what went well, what didn't go well. And what's nice is we're four different people who, with different experiences, different backgrounds, different perspectives, and we don't do this for a living as much as we would love to. So we have our own stuff 9 to 5, and so it's really cool to be able to talk about how we make those work and what we do to make it accessible and feasible for us and our players, which I feel a lot of people can relate to.
Yes, and Charlie is often complimented on recent episodes of the podcast because everyone is like, "Oh my goodness, Charlie's world building."
Yeah.
And if I understand, what is the name of that show? There was a show that was on, maybe it was made by MTV or something like that, but it's based on a book series, Shannara, the Shannara Chronicles. Basically, this idea that like the world is Earth, but it's like very far in the future, and it's post-apocalyptic because your setting has like the real world, but it's like you imagine it like differently as if it's been like 50,000 years and magic has happened. And so how would this change the landscape of the Mediterranean Sea or Japan or some of these other places that I think you've shouted out on your podcast?
Yeah, yeah, and thank you so much. Yes, they're far too kind, and I'm very grateful for all of their kind words. But yeah, it is a really fun world that I just love, and will take any opportunity to talk about it because I love running games in it. But yeah, it's called Adventures After an Arcane Apocalypse. Hopefully, coming to a Kickstarter. By the time this comes out, there will be some more information about it, and should be hopefully this year. So, but it's yeah, like you said, it's Earth, but trying to find ways to pull Earth into the material plane and make everything that's 50 years of D&D history and lore canon, and also still incorporate and give room for all of the amazing third party expansions and additions that have been done with different companies and creators out there. And I wanted to create a world where it was really accessible for players and their characters. So my session 0, one of the big things I tell my players is, whether it's their first time playing D&D or if they've been in other campaigns, is you make a character that you want to play. Don't worry about anything. There's no limitations. There's no restrictions on species or backgrounds or subclasses. If you want to homebrew something, let's talk about it. Let's have an extended session 0, just the, one-on-one, and let's build that out and make it work. And then we create that character, and then just I ask them to just give me a little bit of creative freedom to create the explanation and justification of how this character's origins line up to be at these specific coordinates, meeting with these other players at the table, and it's just been so much fun, and I've just had a lot of really great players at the table because of it.
Awesome. Yes, I know. In the episode of the Storycrafter podcast, talking about like these giant, I think in Japan and Tokyo, you were like, oh, these giant lilies on the water, and so it's like this
Oh,
very like,
Shikatoshi. Yes.
oh yes.
Yes. Oh, that is one of my favorite cities. It is. Yeah. The idea is a section of Japan that during the Arcane Apocalypse got thrust into basically a geode 3 miles below the surface, and that's where these inhabitants have grown over generations and survived and inhabited. And yeah, part of the biome is at the bottom of the geode there's water, and there's these massive ancient mangroves and lily pads that are like a full football field wide, and people set up camp and stuff there. And yeah, it's a really cool town. I love that place.
Yeah. So for more, because certainly we don't want to give it all away here, especially if there's a Kickstarter that you should be going to support. You should just listen to episodes of the Storycrafters podcast, because Charlie will just drop little nuggets, and you'll be like, "What? How? Wow, that's a good idea. I should steal that for my game." And then you totally should. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, this podcast is all Dungeons and Dragons themed. So for this next question, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you if you currently, or if you've ever played D&D before. I mean, seems like a silly question, but I have all kinds of people from different walks of life on the podcast. So some people are just like, "I'm your buddy. I've never played D&D before." And then, others are like, D&D is in their blood. So
Yeah. So yeah, I've been playing D&D now for about 6 years. It's so much fun. I love every bit of it, and I definitely do not have I'm still a young adventurer, I would say, in the ways of experience. But there are some experiences that I do know that I have that I'm very privileged and grateful to have. For instance, my first step into D&D was playing a campaign at level 1, and we got to see that campaign all the way through pretty consistently, weekly or bi-weekly, for just a little over 2.5 years, and went from level 1 to 20. And I know not a lot of people can say that they've been able to do that, and I'm really grateful. And that was my first experience, and so I thought that was, at the time, like, this is the benchmark. Like, this is
what everyone
everybody's
does.
done.
Yeah.
And then over the years, and going to different cons and meeting different people, and some of them have never played at level 20. I'm like, whoa, it's so much fun. You should. So now I try to do one shots every so often, where that is the whole purpose, is just high level play from somewhere between 16 to level 20, so people can get that experience and get to do some of those really cool things.
Yes, yes. I haven't personally myself gotten up to that high in the levels, which is why I'm curious, or keen to try out something like Draw Steel, which only goes up to 10th level. And
Mm.
apparently that's the same thing with Daggerheart, which is like you only get to 10th level. And it's not like Fallout New Vegas where you could be like level 50 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or even when I started in 4th edition, you could get up to like level 30 was like the highest that you could get. But then
Mm.
again, by that point when you're battling the Pantheon, the Dawn War Pantheon gods and stuff like that, they're all like CR, or level 40 boss monsters or whatever by that point. So pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But cool. Yeah. I mean, hey, it doesn't matter how long you've been playing the hobby. If you've got the bug for it, you've got the passion, you've got the drive for it, you could, you could do really cool and amazing things. And obviously, that's what you've been doing with, building your world and playing your games and running your games and all that. So, just want to give you that kudos.
Well, thanks, because the imposter syndrome is always real. But yeah, it's true. I've really been able to. It's been so much fun just meeting so many people in this space, and getting to do so many cool things just because I play D&D and want to share that with other people, and I'm really grateful. It's just such a great community, and every time I get to go to a con and get to do a panel or a table or a presentation or something, it is just so much fun. And I just like this, just love to chat about D&D. That's the whole vibe of the Story Crafters podcast, just 4 GMs sitting around a campfire talking about D&D because we love it. And I just think can never get enough of that.
Indeed. And we're moving along with the questions to the namesake questions of the podcast. We like to focus on the other, and we like to focus on those B plot elements. That really truly make those stories memorable in our minds and our hearts. So for the first of these, who happens to be your favorite NPC or sidekick character, whether they be from one of your many games,
Oh,
an RPG, a video game, movie, film, television, literature, etc.? And why is this character your favorite sidekick or NPC?
wow. Gosh, there's so many to pick from. I think honestly, what's coming to my mind right now is actually an NPC of mine that Jeff, one of the co-hosts of the Story Crafters,
Mhm.
he was talking about this NPC at this convention we were at, and they're called the Jackal, and I really like him because he's a lot of fun to play as an NPC because so many people have this stereotype of what paladins should be,
Mhm.
and he is just not a good guy at
Mm.
all. And yet he holds this position as an arch paladin of the king's court for one of the kingdoms in my world. And so he has this level of distinction and station that he holds, very dignified and respected. And yet one of the reasons he is known as the Jackal is because of just how bloody and ruthless he is in combat, and even outside of combat, he will absolutely take the opportunity. He's found a way to be able to turn himself invisible, and will do his research and take his time, and wait to strike right behind a critical element of a party. And that's almost how every party gets to interact with him, is when he finally unveils himself behind a critical element of their adventuring group, and just stabs them from behind with his greatsword with a smite and being invisible, and just totally brings that player to their knees. And the party is just absolutely like, whoa. And people that are like, oh, he's a paladin, paladins are supposed to be nice. And this guy uses it for all of the wrong reasons. And
Oof.
he's a lot of fun.
Okay. See, you said the Jackal, and that immediately made me think of the 1988 movie Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and because
Excellent
the
reference.
the big heist character lurking in the Riviera era, where Steve Martin and Michael Caine are, is like, oh, the
Hmm.
Jackal's around,
Yeah.
and then finally at the end of the movie, it's revealed who really the Jackal is. So I was like, Jackal,
Not
that sounds familiar. Yeah, I
Not
was
the
like,
source of the inspiration, but I absolutely love the comparison, and that's awesome. Yes.
and now you just need a Steve Martin and a Michael Caine gentleman. Well, you'd have Michael Caine as the gentleman thief, and then you have Steve Martin as kind of like the bumbling grifter,
Yep.
stumbling upon the Jackal, and then seeing what sort of hijinks ensue in that way.
Absolutely.
And then same thing, or the other side of the coin. What has been one of your favorite side quests or B plot elements? Again, same criteria of a RPG, video game, movie, film, television, literature, etc. And why is this your favorite side quest or B plot element?
So it would have to be there's one that my wife and friends and I, we talk about every so often. We were in a campaign together, and we were trying to take over. We were trying to infiltrate this estate of this lord who was also a vampire. And
Naturally.
we're like, okay, how are we going to do this? It's well guarded, well defended. We need to, drag him out. And so one day we found ourselves hanging out without the GM. And so we ended up like staying up until like 2 a.m., like 4 hours plotting and creating. And like, we're like, okay, here's what we do when we can do this in a future session. Here's what we should do. And we wrote it all out, and we felt so confident about it. And we're like, this is going to go so, we've got this. We've absolutely got this. There's no way this isn't going to go in our favor.
This is an airtight plan.
Yes.
No
and
flaws
it was
whatsoever.
absolutely fantastic. And we then proceeded to roll some of the worst dice rolls back to back that we've ever done. And it was hilarious. Our entire plan ruined in a matter of seconds. And it literally turned into us essentially having this sophisticated plot and various different maneuvers to undermine and get one over on all these people. Ended up turning out into a chase scene of our characters running through the town with this vampire's dead wife's coffin and putting it onto a ship that then exploded shortly after departing shore. It was a total failure, and it was hilarious because we were so intent on like, this is going to go well. We well into the night and hours, and it was ruined in a matter of seconds due to the dice, and then just turned into this silly chase scene with a coffin, just classic hijinks. And it was awesome.
Right, you planned for it to be Mission Impossible, and then it
Yes.
very quickly turned into a Benny Hill yakety sax sketch.
Very much a Pink Panther moment, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then the way that we round out the personal interview section, Charlie, what are you passionate about and why?
Ooh, so I gotta ask, in what context are we referring to?
I mean, just what are you passionate about and why?
Well, as an individual, I'm really passionate about my wonderful wife and our 14-year-old pup, Toby. Absolutely just very grateful for, being able to live a life where I'm married to my best friend and I get to play D&D in my free time and get to go to conventions and talk to wonderful people like you and meet people about, the D&D space and learn new things and share funny stories. It's I'm very, very grateful for that. And so I'm very, very passionate that I get to do that with my life right now. But if it's about D&D, it's really about this world setting that I've built. And it a lot of times I feel like GMs are kind of born out of necessity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number of people at the table, and like, we want to play D&D, but who's going to be the GM? And somebody reluctantly volunteers or is appointed. For me, it was, I had this really fun concept and I really wanted to play it and do more things with it. And I met Chris from Rogue Game Masters, and he has this really great platform where people can find games local to them and get to play these professional games where everything's taken care of. And I get to just play with Dwarven Forge and set up these adventures for people to show up, play D&D, and then they get to leave and go home. It's so much fun. We just meet up and play D&D, and I just get to meet so many cool people that I never would have played D&D with if I just kept it in the, friends and family setting. And I've met so many wonderful people and got to have so many cool experiences. And so, yeah, I'm just really, really passionate about this world and everything it's led me in to encounter because of it.
Hey, we always love maybe maybe it's technically, I don't know what the true definition of a wife guy is, but we love guys who love their wives and
Yeah.
support them. So, solidarity with loving our wives and families. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sounds like we had a great first part here with the personal interview section, that I think it's now time to head into some NPC creation.
All right.
And NPC creation is brought to you by you, the podcast audience, and our patrons from Patreon. So now is the time
Love
of the
it.
show where we give a shout out to our comfortable patrons and above with a loud hurrah. So cheers to you, my good buddy Anson Jablinski and good old mom and dad. Cheers. Sampling tonight of the Shiner Oktoberfest Märzen style beer. So get you a bottle. It's good stuff. They don't sponsor me, but I've probably consumed enough Shiner products that maybe they ought to consider it. But anyway, yeah, so this shout out, it's for patrons who donate at least $2 or more a month. But all these folks that I named are actually wealthy tier level patrons, which means they get to introduce an element of chance to our random tables that we
Ooh.
use here in NPC creation, and we might get to hear some of their responses used today. So if you want to learn more about all the different rewards and tiers and all such things awaiting for you on our Patreon, why, you should go to the show notes below, go to the podcast website, or just go directly to patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests to learn about more of the awesome things that we have to offer. Help us to grow and expand our operations in the Levitating Platter. Help us, to build, to create, to do in this demiplane and worlds beyond. All right, so now is the part where we get to make up a character. And before we hit all the buttons to start the recordings, you have opted for the path of randomization today.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, we have the tables. We have the dice, virtual or otherwise. And if you are ready to begin, the very first thing that we have to roll for and think of with this character is a name of the character.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
we roll a d20 and let's see what name we get.
Okay. 18. Starting out strong.
Starting out strong. All right. And your answer was provided to us by Eva Terra, Sarcastic Undertone.
Nice.
So, Sarcastic Undertone, indeed a very strong start. And let's see here. The next thing we get to roll for is the ancestry of the character. So this is where we do a 2d10 or a d100 effect to determine the ancestry of Sarcastic Undertone.
I love it. Okay. All right. Keeping up the momentum with an 89.
89. All right, as I scroll down my list. Hexblood.
Ooh.
So we have a Hexblood that is named Sarcastic Undertone, kind of bucking the standard lore of how Hexbloods come up with their name. So definitely a unique story there.
Yeah.
And okay, and then we need to figure out what's the job or occupation, the role in society that Sarcastic Undertone is going to have. This will be just a regular D10 roll.
Okay. 6.
6. Okay. Answer provided to us by Skyline Stars. Awesome cosplayer. Accountant. So CPA, certified public accountant.
Love it.
Here in the land of fantasy. Some people's greatest fantasy, for all you know. And then let's see. Now we need to figure out the age range of our character. And this will be a D8 roll.
D8. Okay. 3.
Young adult. So
Okay.
we've got some details here that hopefully now you have a visual representation and mental picture forming. So when we think of Sarcastic Undertone, Hexblood, accountant, young adult, can you describe the physical appearance of this character?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking, honestly, kind of going a little bit of like the accountant vibe.
Okay.
And I'm talking about the Amazon Prime movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I was thinking
Yeah.
like, oh, the accountant, like, yeah, just some regular guy who works in an
No,
office
no.
building.
But I think more so the sense of he uses that as his cover, right? As a CPA in order to do the hired gun and mercenary things. Instead, for I think we're gonna go a little bit keep it with the kind of Pink Panther vibe. And first name is Sarcastique.
Sarcastique. How
Uh,
magnifique.
and um, Under-Tony.
Under-Tony.
Under-Tony. Sarcastic Under-Tony. Um, he more so his passion is accounting. That is what he loves to do. But sometimes in order to do these things, to get the numbers, the reports that he needs, he has to use his Hexblood race and origins in order to get some of those things done. You have to get your hands dirty in order to get the results that you need. So
Interesting.
that's what I'm kind of thinking.
So
Passion is,
Sarcastique Under-Tony sounds, well, I mean, kind of sound like organized crime sort of aligned, but maybe more fey, like organized fey crime or something like that.
yeah, I like that.
Uh,
Organized fake crime.
and maybe isn't necessarily concerned about like actual best practices of accountancy of like, oh, we got to make sure all the debits line up with the
Oh
credits.
no, they do. All the numbers are important.
Right. No. Numbers are important, certainly, but I mean, as far as like, oh, well, we need to find, where, these three, pallets of items are, and then Sarcastique, rather than just like, waiting on the authorities to figure it out, is just kind of like, oh, well, we know that these people stole these three pallets from
I'll
us,
do it.
so it is time to balance the books, as they say.
Yes, I Sarcastique has a deadline, and so and so is holding up on the invoices, and well, he's just going to go get them done himself. And if it means that he's got to go take down a rival gang boss and organization in order to get access to those invoices, he'll do it. He'll
Yeah.
do it. No hesitation. He's going to deliver
And
and meet that deadline.
yeah, now I'm just kind of curious because of the Hexblood lineage ancestry. I'm just trying to picture now the whole organized crime family. Like, oh, I'm the offspring of this particular notorious hag,
Yes.
or arch hag or whatever it is. I don't know if you had like the Undertony. Is that the family name, or is that just like, oh, he's like, related to someone else and is like a cousin of a friend, and that's how
It
he's
is
related.
it is very much a stage name because of the fact that his ancestry, they're like, you have to make your own name for yourself. You can't use ours. And at the same time, they do so much to be associated with would be a point of leverage that could be used against them,
True.
and vice versa. And so therefore he just went with, again, he's more concerned about the numbers. He's not really concerned about anything else. And so people tell him, they're like, it's a ridiculous name. And he's like, I don't care. I just had to fill out a form and I had to do it. So Sarcastique Under-Tony is what it is.
Cool. Yeah, and so I'm just thinking like a Ma Baker, or like some like grandma, like, oh, they call her the grandma or whatever like that, and
Hmm.
that's like the family that he works for, and she's like,
Yes.
Sarcastic, I
Yes.
need you to go get this done, and he's
Yes.
like, of course, grandma, right away,
Yes. Uh,
grandmother,
whatever Babushka asks, we,
yes.
we oblige.
Yes. Yeah. See, yeah, this could work. Yeah. So that's another way that you can make hags cooler and not so stereotypical.
Right.
Make them
Right.
into your organized crime faction. Then you could have
Absolutely.
all sorts of like creepy,
Mm,
darker fey element creatures in
yes.
the organization, or like
Oh my
lurking or
gosh.
stalking the party.
I now want to create a campaign centered around a a world similar to Gotham in the Feywild.
Ooh. See, that's
Yes,
what this podcast does. We generate great ideas and we just give them away.
love it.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to do this, and I
So yeah,
want to be in it.
so then yeah, as far as like his like Sarcastique's physical appearance, does he appear kind of like as a typical sort of Hexblood, or are there like any particular interesting notes or characteristics? Because I have never seen the actual Accountant movie. I know it's Ben Affleck, like like a suit and a very like short haircut and glasses that he then, that's like the public persona, and he switches out to the tactical gear, and it's all action movie from there. Is that sort of the same vibe that you're thinking? Or you said, Pink Panther themed? Is it more Inspector Clouseau, uh, you know, uh, Steve Martin, or the Peter Welling? Now I need to Google it so I'm not wrong, and I don't have to fix it in post. I'm gonna find the answer here. Pink Panther, 1963. Tell me the movie. Uh, Peter Sellers. There we go. That's the Peter I was
Yes,
thinking of. Peter
yes,
Weller is RoboCop, a
yes.
different Peter. But yes, you thinking more of like a Peter Sellers sort of a vibe, or a Ben Affleck vibe for this Hexblood?
Honestly, I'm thinking like a wood elf. Wood elf.
Okay,
They
because I know they
unknowingly,
have antlers that come out of their head.
yeah. So I'm thinking like it was. He's a wood elf. His family, one of his parents, way back when,
Hmm.
in their youth and folly, made some kind of a bargain with a hag, not really thinking anything about it, and
Hmm.
then century later, fell in love, started a family, and that hag waited,
Hmm.
bided their time, and then came for the kid, and and then from there started to gain some additional fey resilience and hex magic, and started a little bit of changing their ancestral legacy to be more like them, just simply from being exposed to all of these hag dark magics, and
Hmm.
being raised in that environment. But I'm thinking more so like a kind of like a little bit of a stuffy wood elf,
Okay, interesting.
definitely with a
So,
pocket protector. Yeah.
yeah, the antlers looks like, at first glance would be like, oh, that wood elf is wearing a very interesting antler headpiece, but it's like, no, those antlers are coming out of his head. So it's like, oh, he's got a darker, more serious vibe to him. He's not all artsy fartsy over here. He's frolicking
Yes.
through the meadows.
Yes, and I think that's where the Pink Panther element comes into, is like, his demeanor is very serious and everything, and he carries himself quite well, and he I mean, at the end of the day, he is an adventurer on paper, right? So he
Mm,
does have some skills, he does have some talents, he knows his way around, a weapon, but at the same time, every so often those antlers, they just get in the way. They get caught up in the cords, or hit in the doorway or something else, and it just really undercuts the serious tone of the environment that he's in. And when people see him, they're like think it's imposing, and then it gets caught on something, and they're like, "Do we actually
mm.
need to be worried about this guy? Is he actually a threat?" And then takes him out.
Yeah. Oh, so it's part of his routine and his act to like get their guard down. Like he acts like a buffoon at first, so they don't take him seriously, and then he surprise attacks them, and then they're like, "Oh no."
Just like the Pink Panther, that's definitely what the outside onlooker is thinking. Wow, he must have planned this entire thing, and instead he's just rolling with what life has dealt him.
Mm. Yeah, what was it like in the Boondock Saints movie? They're like, "These guys are masterminds," and it's like we literally just fell out of
Yeah.
an air duct and then
Yes.
just happened to spin around and be able to get all the mob bosses at the same time.
100%. And for him, he doesn't care about how he looks or anything else. He's just trying to get those invoices. So to everybody else, he seems like mission critical, on point, very efficient. And for him, he's just like, I'm just trying to get to the invoices. Like,
Yeah, Grandma Babushka, is like, "Oh, he's a very good boy. He
yeah,
does what I ask, and he doesn't mess around." And he's just like, "Here you go, Babushka."
Yep.
Can I it's my 12:30, it's my lunch break now. Can I yeah, please do goes off.
I love it.
All right, so we got the vibe. So it looks like a silly accountant, but is quite deadly. To kind of go along with the physical appearance of our character, if you had to describe Sarcastique Under-Tony with 3 adjectives, what 3 adjectives would you use?
Ooh, 3 adjectives. I would say gaunt.
Ooh.
Trying to with the hag vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely sunken in kind of cheeks and everything else. Again, he's so focused on getting his deadline and getting this work done.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is to the wayside.
Yeah.
It's just not important, even when it comes to eating meals and getting a long rest. So he definitely looks like he has a perpetual state or levels of exhaustion almost. But
Mm.
so yeah, very gaunt. Again, I think to the onlooker, someone who looks focused.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they're all, the onlooker would think, oh, he's focused on taking out these people, getting this done, everything else. He is just focused, dead set on trying to get those numbers, get that paperwork, get that stuff filed. And he's focused and driven in that aspect. So, we'll say intense and at the same time apathetic.
Interesting. Okay, so gaunt, focused, and then intense yet apathetic.
Yeah.
Okay. Good role playing notes for when we're playing Sarcastique Under-Tony. All right. Now the part where I say, and now we get to go back to some dice rolling. We like all of our NPCs to have something cool on their person,
Okay.
so we need to figure out what's going to be the valuable item, piece of lore, secret, or ideal or concept that this character would ascribe to. This is where we do a combo. So you roll a D4 for the category, and then a D6
Okay.
for the thing.
All right. So D4 is a 4.
Okay, this is going to be an ideal or concept.
Okay. And I'm going to roll my special D6 from Opal Grove Games in Detroit.
All right.
Hey, we got a 6.
6. All right.
Yeah.
Well, your answer was provided to us by the canine detective.
Ooh.
Dogs. Sarcastique Under-Tony really cares about dogs. So what's that whole thing about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and maybe that's part of what drives him. He's so focused on being the best accountant in CPA possible because he's trying to make sure that he can, keep his hag grandmother and all of the rescue dogs in the Feywild fed and taken care of. That's his driving focus. And he knows he's good at being an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't want to get one single audit on his record so that he can continue to do the best that he can at the most that he can in order to provide for all of the lost dogs in the Feywild.
I was going to say, this Sarcastique Under-Tony with all these things that we're learning just is sounding more and more like John Wick.
Oh, yes. I didn't even think.
I was gonna
Yes.
say, is there a particular dog that he has that's like he's like super attached to, or is it like, oh, I rescue blink dogs or shadow mastiffs or hellhounds or
All of them.
whatever sorts of dogs that Babushka likes to keep around.
All of the lost and abandoned dogs to the waysides of the Feywild.
Mm-hmm.
He loves them all, takes them in, doesn't judge, just cares for them.
Those careless people who just are not responsible pet owners, just dumping their dogs in the nearest portal, and then they end up in the Feywild. And you'd think that they would be left to the elements, not able to survive, but really, it's the accountant who's bloodthirsty yet with a heart of gold,
Yep.
Sarcastique Under-Tony, who's keeping them all fed and alive.
And I think that's also that lends a lot of justification to his apathetic nature and why he's totally fine spilling blood in order to get this accounting done, because in his mind he feels like he's seeing the worst of mortality and how they treat these poor dogs. Like they didn't, like all these people just tossing them to the wayside, not caring for them, not looking for them when they're lost. And so to him, he's like, there's no reason out there. There's no reason for attachment with other individuals. He doesn't care to make those friendships or relationships or even entertain the concept of love, because he's like, why would I want to? This is how they treat innocent dogs of the different planes. I know what their true hearts are like. That's just what he summarized it up to, and keeps them at a distance.
As we're learning more about Sarcastique Under-Tony through these dice rolls, two more thoughts have come to my head. Because it's the Feywild and you don't want to just give anyone your name. Sarcastique Under-Tony is like the name that he gives for the Feywild, so that way
Yes.
no one can like
Know his
trick him
true
and stuff
name.
like that.
Amen. That would make sense why it would be a stage name. Yes.
And then, just thinking of his description as a character, because I was like, oh, is he more of like, like a Ben Affleck or like, some other accountant? Now that I've made the John Wick parallel, it's like, is this just Wood Elf Keanu Reeves with antlers coming out of his head? Is this basically what we've done?
It started off with Ben Affleck, but let's be honest, like Keanu Reeves probably is an elf, right? Like he doesn't age.
Yeah.
I think this does make sense.
You're gonna pay for abandoning this dog. And then he just like violent montage later, and then he comes back to Babushka and he's got like a new puppy. He's like, here's your paperwork. I've got to go feed this dog now.
Yep.
And then he just like leaves and goes takes care of the dog. Oh man. Oh, I love this guy already. All right. Well, of course, we want all of our NPCs that we create on this podcast to be able to have bright gold exclamation points over their head. So when you encounter them, they can offer up a side quest for your party. So for the last dice roll, if you want to randomize it, a D12, what's going to be the side quest that Sarcastique Under-Tony is going to offer up to a bunch of player characters?
Okay, 2.
Oh my gosh. The dice giveth and they giveth. All right, this one to us from previous guest, April Hill. Their dog fell down a well, but there was no splash. This well has been known to be a dry well, and when you attempt to illuminate the well, no normal or magic light can penetrate the darkness.
This sounds like a situation that would happen in the Feywild, and the fact that it's tied up with the dog is just amazing.
The spirit knows. The Holy Spirit knows the dice and makes them shine.
Man, when you asked me, you're like, do you have a predetermined character? Or do you want to randomize? I was like, I want to randomize. It's always so much more fun that way. And this is serving so well.
Yeah.
That's
so
beautiful.
what about the side quest? So like, so a dog fell down a well. Is this one of the many dogs he's taking care of? Or is this like his favorite dog or Babushka's favorite dog? Or like, what are the stakes of this as far as side quest?
So I think this is because normally if he just needs to go get paperwork, like I said, he doesn't really care about who he's going to hurt or anything else, right? He just goes and does it. And at the same time, that also means he has a lack of concern for his own well-being. He has a motivation to survive, but as far as, as long as he survives, even with 1 hit point, that's all that matters, right? But in this essence of not sure what he's going to go up against and needing to rescue this dog, this is what does bring out the concern and empathy from Sarcastique. And so because of that, he is seeking out people to go with him in order to ensure the well-being of this dog. And that's what motivates him to work with others for the rare time in this circumstance.
Okay. So he's going to recruit the party to go help him.
Yeah.
So Sarcastique Under-Tony becomes an NPC who adventures with you. So you could go explore this well and whatever entails with it, whether it's just, I don't know, well, however you treat the underground within the Feywild, is that just the Underdark all over again, or is it the Underdark Plus, or something else altogether? Fraggle Rock, who knows?
Absolutely. He's just there for the dog, and he tells them that. He's like, look, this is the focus. If anybody falls behind, we're there to get the dog out safely.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we got a great setup for a side quest. So obviously we need to know the stakes as far as reward and failure. So for the first of these, what's going to be the reward that Sarcastique Under-Tony is going to offer up, for success in this side quest of going down here, finding the dog, retrieving the dog, and, leaving the well, as it were.
Yeah, I would say it makes a whole lot of sense for him to. He does a lot for his babushka and asks for very little in return. And so, in this time, he says, I've asked her for a favor to not be for me, but to be for whoever helps me with this. So they get a free favor from the hag.
Ooh, clutch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you get one favor to be redeemed by a hag, and however you envision this babushka organized crime matron of this faction, uh, could bring some major weight into the campaign for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Simple enough. And then as far as the failure condition, so what's going to happen if the party goes down? They go down there to find the dog. Dog's nowhere to be found. Dog is lost. Dog is killed. Dog is abandoned, or whatever the whatever the consequences or ramifications or such through their actions or inactions that cause a failure condition in this quest, or refusing. He comes up to the party and asks for help, and they're like, "We're not going to waste our time with a dog in a well. That sounds too much like Lassie. We have more important things to do." What's going to be the consequence of failure or refusing the call to the adventure?
Refusing the call to adventure. I think that would be more so the hag grandmother. She cares.
Oh.
She cares about her little Under-Tony, and the fact of he doesn't. She knows him. He doesn't ask people for anything. In fact, he's putting himself out there and gets shut down like that. She takes that as a personal slight, and now
Ooh.
this hag is got beef with them.
Oof. Okay,
If
bad news bears.
Yeah, that specifically they refuse.
Okay.
If they do not save the dog, right? If they don't save the dog and return the dog to the babushka, then what's going to happen is they don't know this, and even Sarcastique doesn't know this, right? But Babushka, I mean, she's invested a lot in him. So I imagine at some point when he was young, she kept, his teeth, his baby teeth, or his a lock of hair. And so if he is ever to die, she then just does, the what is
True
the
resurrection.
true resurrection spell brings him back. Well, his focus is not going to be, I died, that was a horrible experience, my soul left the plane, all of that normal stuff for most mortals that they would then have to contend with from having died and come back. Instead, he's like, they didn't hold their end of the bargain, and he's going to get revenge.
He's going to go John Wick on the party.
Yep, and now you've got Sarcastique hunting you down.
Oof. Okay, yeah, yeah. So bad. So if you refuse him to his face, you've angered the hag, and now you've got a whole organized crime family organization breathing down your neck, or because the dog dies, or something happens to Sarcastique Under-Tony, he's gonna come back and he's gonna come John Wick your party.
Yep.
Unless you can. Well, it sounds like he'll be a persistent threat, and then that means they're going to have to go deal with the hag and her organization to be like, stop resurrecting him.
Yeah.
We've nearly all died 3 times.
Yes.
Because he keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, so then they have to bargain with the hag or Sarcastique to like get this resolved. So, oh man. And then that's how you go. That's how you get how many John Wick movies are we up to now? Like 4? 4 of them?
I think 4, yeah. 4 and a spinoff because of the ballerina.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yep. I think I've only seen the first one, so
they're good.
I'll have to have a movie marathon one of these days and just watch them all.
Yeah.
You just one down the line like shots on a bar.
Do it.
All right. So we have some optional questions if you feel like Sarcastique Under-Tony has more to be explored.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So what are the goals and motivations of Sarcastique Under-Tony as a character?
I think, ultimately at face value, it's going to be meeting all the accounting CPA expectations in the Feywild.
Hmm.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, that is all motivated in order to make sure that he's taking care of his corner of the Feywild with his Babushka,
Hmm.
because she is creating this protective area for all of these lost dogs that he's rescued.
Mm. Okay. And then how do these goals and motivations affect his general personality?
I think it leaves him to be pretty apathetic, if not indifferent, towards other mortals. And yet, to animals, specifically to dogs, he is incredibly self sacrificing and giving and kind towards, with very little regard for his own personal safety.
Yeah, I'm imagining you come across him in the Feywild in like a 1970s cubicle office, and it's like very bleak, but the only thing that looks like it matters to him is like a couple of pictures of dogs on the desks, and he's just like, all right, I'm here to do your taxes, and you're just kind of like, I don't understand. Well, this is the Feywild, I guess we're not meant to understand. And he's
Mm-mm.
just sitting there doing the accounting. You're
Yep.
trying to chat with him and he's just ignoring you. Like, all right,
And
here's what you owe.
And you know what? I think to add a little bit more to him and his credibility, and also like that kind of John Wick respect that he
Mhm.
yields in the Feywild, is because in order to do all the accounting, he has to file all that paperwork and he has to know everyone's actual names.
Ooh.
And
Ooh,
yet,
s
and
yeah.
because he his motivation is to take care of all of these dogs, right? He doesn't he has all this power and all this leverage, but he doesn't look at it that way.
Mhm.
And because of that, he doesn't abuse it. And because of that, he has all this leverage and all of this respect because he doesn't do so.
Ooh. I wonder if in the Feywild, it's like, "Hey, sarcastic undertone." Like, you use it as, like, an expression to be like, "Hey, that's, like, the honest truth," like, because swearing on his name is as good as, like, anything that you're gonna get in the Feywild or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, and then people talk about him like, he knows everyone's true name. Like,
Everyone.
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 Yeah. Like, yeah, and people are just as fearful of him as they are of like the hag, or whatnot, the babushka. So yeah.
Hmm.
And so then I think we've covered it, but like, as far as how he interacts with people, maybe to like the babushka and the organization, he might show like a little bit more nuance as far as his how he interacts or speaks with people. But like when he
A little
comes
more
across like
civility.
yeah, when he comes across, like, player characters or, like, other NPCs in the world, like, NPCs are gonna treat him with reverence, and player characters are not gonna they're gonna have a hard time getting him to, like, engage with them or, like, be forthcoming with information.
Yeah, he's just there to get the information, and he's only going to give as much as necessary to get whatever he needs, you know like he's just there to do the taxes, right?
Mm,
So he's not, he walks into the room, he doesn't care about what else is going on. He doesn't care if somebody's bleeding from the face. He doesn't care what say, for instance, if they are dark elves or tieflings, where some people might have some concerns or issues or beef with. He doesn't care. He
mhm,
doesn't care at all. It doesn't even bat an eyelash at it.
mhm. Okay. And then are there any particular accents or languages that, Sarcastique uses? Are there any idiosyncrasies in how he acts or speaks?
I think the one being that it's like this weird, sarcastic, kind of going with a kind of a subtle French inflection there, and undertony, kind of this silly uh, Italian stereotype, but a babushka of a hag. You've got this Eastern European kind of vibe to it. I think you can go in any of those realms if you want to give him an accent. Play
Mhm.
around with it, have fun, whatever works for you. And then as far as idiosyncrasies, I do. I think it's that he is very, mindful by the book, got a pocket protector, does his thing. He's pretty neat, doesn't spend a lot of extra calories or time doing anything unnecessary. And yet at
Mhm.
the same time, he always seems to be unaware of the space that his antlers occupy. And so they're constantly getting caught on something. And he doesn't get flustered or anything about it. And it hits a doorway and he's just yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What impact has Sarcastique Under-Tony made on the world? How has he shaped the local area?
I think of the fact that he's lessened some of the crime, especially some of like just the chaotic crime that happens in the Feywild has
Mhm.
really like people are, they're like, if you think it's bad now, you should have seen how it was before Sarcastique was involved. It was crazy. People had to get organized in order to get stuff done because of him and keeping up with regulations and holding people accountable and making sure that they're meeting deadlines. He's like, if you don't have the invoice, he's going to come in and ruin everything. And it doesn't matter who's in the way, you know, even if they're just physically in the way, he's just,
Mhm.
he's got a place he's got to be and get what he needs and he's going to go. And then at the same time, he's also created some power vacuums as a result, which has really shifted kind of the organized crime in the Feywild. And then at the same time, also created this culture where like there's this one individual, and as much as like he all the power that he holds, right? You'd think he would be an issue. At the same time, they're like, we need him. We need him in order for us to have some degree of organization and to actually get by with everything that we're doing. We do need somebody that genuinely is not concerned about having our names and is going to use that against us because he's got
Mhm.
his own motivations, right? They're like, do not mess with his dogs.
Yeah.
Like, don't. They're,
And who is he collecting the taxes for? Is it just whoever happens to be the archfey in this jurisdiction or that, or is it all for the babushka? Like, I'm just wondering, like, there is this seeming system in place, before the Feywild was regarded as 1970s New York City. But because he's around, it's like, oh, we cleaned up the forests and the streets of the Feywild, and you know, but what's the system in place? I'm just kind of curious,
I,
like
I
who's getting this money?
I do like the idea that in the Feywild, right? Like they have a court and they're different regional powers in the Fae that
Mhm.
have this court that all go by, and there's some kind of general oversight and committee for that
Mhm.
court, in order for them to have some degree of civility amongst the different regions of power and the different archfays of those regions. They also understand, they're like, well, we also have to have an independent organization that is going to take care of some of the things in our stead across those things,
Interesting.
commerce, transportation, things of that nature. The general media and branding that tells, the adventures in the material plane that the Feywild is crazy and that it's this dangerous place. Somebody has to run, these somebody has to, I would imagine that there has to be some kind of agency that is keeping the mushroom circles in line and in order,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
if we're just leaving it to be up for chance, right? Like
Mhm.
imagine the chaos there could be. What if there was just on the material plane, a mushroom circle forms and leads into, the bedroom of one of the archfays. They don't need
Right.
that,
Yeah.
right? Like, and all of a sudden, some kind of Tarrasque or adventuring party of idiotic heroes come bursting in to take all of his loot. I would imagine that there's various things that are overseeing different aspects and maintaining the Feywild,
Yeah.
that taxes and stuff have to be collected.
That's true. Yeah. And so, we were imagining this babushka as like organized crime, and typically you don't see hags as being like formally accepted as part of like the power structure of the Feywild, but in this idea of like, oh, we have the Fey court and like all the Archfey are there, and they, oh, we got to have this, we got to have the Fed. Okay, well, the Fed in this case is like the Babushka.
Yeah,
So it's like, okay, we don't really like hags, but you know what? None of us, we could all agree that none of us trust her, which makes her trustworthy in this
makes her trustworthy.
circumstance to be able
Yeah,
to handle the collection of the taxes that we need from the realm. And then, Sarcastique Under-Tony just happens to be like the best agent of her
yeah,
organization to be able to
yeah.
undertake this mission.
And I mean, and think about it for her as a hag, right? Like it's a sweet setup. Like they respect her, they allow her space,
Hmm.
and she also gets a cut of it all
Yeah.
for just holding on to the money. And all of them are like, she's pretty powerful and pretty crafty and sneaky. Nobody wants to
Hmm.
be on the bad side of a hag, you
Yeah.
know. On the off chance that you don't, like, let's say if you did want to try to take her out, it's not guaranteed. So it's like,
Right.
nobody wants to be on the bad side. So they're like, yeah, she can get the collection of all the taxes, and we
Hmm.
trust her to disperse it accordingly with her cut.
Yeah. See, now I'm just imagining your mind at work, and you were saying, oh, a Gotham City in the Feywild. You're gonna have a whole campaign figured out of like political intrigue in the Feywild with the court and the taxes and this sarcastic undertone, walking the forest glades of this realm, just, hey, you haven't filed your paperwork. I'm here to take care of that for you. It's him. That
Yeah.
sort of a thing. Yeah.
I just really love the idea of just there is a sub agency underneath the hag of basically like animal control people, right?
Hmm.
Like these dog catchers, but instead of dog catchers, like they're just there to regulate mushroom circles.
Mm.
Somebody's just out there with a clipboard and they're like, this isn't regulation. They didn't get a permit for this. I'm
Mm.
going to have to shut this down.
Yeah. The red tape comes up,
Yeah.
condemned, don't no crossing by
Yep.
order of the Fey court. This is illegal. Yeah.
Yep.
And the final optional question, does Sarcastique Undertony have any current problems that prevent him from being a bigger player on the stage?
I think it would just be like the demands of all the lost dogs, and
Mm.
just they're just constantly abandoned dogs from the different planes, and somebody's got to take care of them. And right
Indeed.
now, he only trusts himself to make sure that happens. He's like, my babushka's got all these commitments with the Fey court, and she's been here for eons and all kinds of obligations and stuff. I'm the only one with the time, right? Because everybody else has families and lovers and kids, and they're so worried about their stations, amongst the kingdoms and the regions. I'm the only one that can look after all these dogs and take them in when needed. And so that's just where his focus lies.
Awesome. We have the most amazing NPC this episode. We have John Wick in the flesh, ladies and gentlemen. So I think it goes without saying. I think it's time that we head into a random encounter. This random encounter is brought to you by my sponsor, Zencastr. How do I use Zencastr? Well, that's the service that I'm using right now to be able to record my episodes of the podcast. It's what allows me to capture it all, put it into my editing machines on my new computer to get it processed and put forth onto the interwebs and podcast land for you all to enjoy. I was able to take part of this service, all thanks to my buddies Benjamin Huffman and Dane Fox McGraw over at the Dispel Magic podcast. And if you were at this time in your life wondering what can I be doing, what sort of hobbies or things that I could be branching out to, well, I'm here to talk to you today about Zencastr. It's so easy. It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen. Knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. You can sound your best. Have you ever wondered what you might sound like? Well, Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically works to remove those filler words in your recordings, and it makes those awkward pauses in conversation dip out as well. You can set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. It's all in one, so if you've thought about podcasting before and realize that you need a lot of different tools and services these days, in order to do a podcast, well, I can assure you that those days are done. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SIDEKQPodcast, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Again, go to zencastr.com/pricing, use my code SIDEKQPodcast, get that 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. Thank you so much for listening to this ad and for supporting the sponsor. It helps to support the show. And without further ado, on with the podcast. All right. And now we're here in the part of the show, the random encounter. This is where we do a role play, a vignette, a scene with the character we've made here today. So I think Charlie is going to do a fantastic job, whether he's going to nail down French, Italian, or Eastern European, or Keanu Reeves to become Sarcastique Under-Tony. But the question that I have is, who am I going to be in the scene? What sort of scene are you interested in doing today? Is it going to be Sarcastique Under-Tony coming to one of the podcast adventurer characters asking for help? Is it going to be him speaking with the Babushka? Is it him just randomly encountering some poor person lost in the Feywild and now is being subjected to taxes? Or is it something else? I don't know. What sort of scene are you interested in portraying Sarcastique Under-Tony in?
Honestly, any of them, man. I would leave it up to you. What sounds most interesting to you?
Oh, no. You are the guest. I'm just the host, so you get to choose. I have a
No,
whole Rolodex of characters if you want me to go through them, if you're looking for an adventure character to meet.
you pick. This is collaborative storytelling. That's how I look at it. So I want you to whatever's speaking to you, whatever seems more fun right now.
Okay, well, let's go through the list of characters and see if any of these spark joy. So we have Duncan. He is the recklessly brave adventurer for hire, happy-go-lucky, no task too small, no feat too daring, sort of a guy. We've got Sonia. She's the warrior woman who started off as a barbarian and multi-classed into a paladin who wishes to redeem the undead. We have Korak, who's the lawful evil arcane trickster roguish dwarf. We have Chrisley. She's the herbalist botanist wood elf druid who then multi-classed into a cleric who serves living memory. We have Orion, who is the astral elf illusionist wizard. We have Agape. She is the lilac colored tiefling Sorlock, started off as a wild magic sorcerer, and then made a pact with who she refers to lovingly as Prosperina, but really Proserpina, the Archfey. And that's so hence Sorlock. We have Life Spell the Necromancer. And at this point in the podcast, he is rolling deep with some skellies. Let me tell you that.
Okay.
And then we've also got Anne Boleyn Mithril Shaper, who is a dwarven bard lady who's only been featured in one adventure. But if none of those characters sound interesting, we could totally randomize a new one to just introduce to this scene.
Well,
Or if
I
any of them spark your interest.
I would say, which one of those do you think is most opposite to Sarcastique?
The most opposite. That is a good question. Because it would have to be so Sarcastique is very not caring and apathetic and doesn't really like people. I mean, Duncan is very much like chaotically good and just wants to be everyone's friend and like, ho, I'm this adventurer sort of a guy. So yeah, Duncan could totally be totally be your helper, your person, if that's who you want.
I think that would be pretty interesting dynamic there. That classic, buddy cop kind of situation where he's like really trying to like get the friendship and the approval, and Sarcastique's like, "You have a job, just do the job."
Where we last left our hero Duncan, Duncan was recently hired to infiltrate a cult of Tiamat. And kind of like the Goblin camp in Baldur's Gate 3, snuck around the edge and came across the torturer part, and he met an Inquisitor, Zuri, the Inquisitor. Zuri, the teen manticore Inquisitor, in fact, and was given the task of completing the side quest of delivering some Almirage to a nature preserve so that they would be safe. And because Duncan was successful in this, well, Zuri turned to join Duncan as an ally. And so between the two of them, they were able to successfully defeat this cult of Tiamat and get that resolved. But at one point during the combat, as the head priest cultist of this cult is dying, manages to use a magic item to banish Duncan to another realm. And so Duncan finds himself being catapulted yet again to the Feywild. And Duncan summarily finds himself like thudding onto the ground. And he's like, oh, my everything hurts. Where? Oh, I'm back. I'm back here, the Feywild. And so he'll start standing up and dusting himself off. And he's like checking himself and his wounds and seeing how badly he's hurt. He's like, well, I hope that Zuri lad was, I think he got the killing blow, but that reflex of the head cultist must have zapped me with that thing. And now I'm here. He's looking around trying to get his bearings and figure out where he is, but perhaps maybe he hasn't been to this part of the Feywild. So he's just standing around looking, and he's like, wondering what he's going to do. He pulls out a compass to look at, and it just spins around like a top. And he's like, well, I don't know why I bothered even looking. And so he's just looking around trying to, see if he can see anyone that's going to be helpful to him while being cautious.
I like it. Yeah, I think honestly it would Sarcastique is just wandering through the edge of the Feywild. There's a dog that he's been looking for that he got word of had been abandoned, and that's what he's out looking for, and sees Duncan. Well, actually, if you want, we can roll a d20, see who spots who first.
Oh, sure, yeah, go for it. Narratively, I'm just like, oh, he rolls high or he rolls low. But if you want to roll and actually see who does better.
Okay. So rolled above 10. So we'll say that Sarcastique sees him first.
Okay, yeah. And Duncan's still looking around, and he's just like, he's probably saying some rhymes out loud to himself to kind of like remind him of like best practices for the Feywild. So he's like, remember, don't eat the mushrooms. They might eat you back. So he's saying, sort of silly things like that, but he's just trying to keep himself mentally fresh for now that he's here. And he's like, I'm going to have to find, some point of civilization here to find a wizard to be able to like get me back to where I need to be. And he's, whoa. Hello.
You seem lost. Yes?
Yes, I find myself yet again here in the Feywild. My name is Duncan, and he produces a business card, and he bows, and he has it in front of him to present to this new face that's appeared before him. And if Sarcastique takes it, it's a business card that says like, Duncan, the adventurer for hire, recklessly brave, no feat too daring, no task too small, proud sponsor of the it actually it names Delramon and Katniss, the magic mouth stonecasters. Not that it's necessarily a thing of like, oh, all Hexbloods know each other, but in point of fact, Delramon and Katniss do happen to be Hexblood siblings. up to you whether you think Sarcastique might know them. No, he shakes his, he doesn't know the names. Maybe even doesn't even know what the idea of a stone cast is either. But proud patron of the arts. All of Duncan's accomplishments sort of encapsulated within the idea of a business card. And so he's, and Duncan might just start spouting off some of his previous adventures that he's had here in the Feywild before.
You say you've been here before, but the way you so casually give out your name is indeed quite reckless, as your card suggests. But you order for hire, yes?
I did just finish my last job. I'll have to go turn that one in,
You're currently unoccupied.
Currently, he looks around. Yes, currently, yes.
Okay. If you are lost and you're looking to go elsewhere, I can help with that, but I will need your help in the first place to find a missing dog I am looking for.
Oh, a missing dog. Good sir, I am more than capable of finding lost dogs. Why? And he's going to start rattling off one of his other adventures here from the Feywild, unless you stop him. But he will keep rambling and be grandiloquent in his explanations.
I would imagine if the audience was watching this, they would see he would kind of go off and is daydreaming and going and trailing off and everything, and eventually when he comes back to meet the gaze of Sarcastique, he is just standing there already with a contract and pulls out a pen from his pocket protector and he says, "So, in all of that you said, you did not actually state of which that you accepted, and I would prefer your legal signature, please, on the line, if you are accepting this or not."
Okay, he takes the pen, and maybe he, in his passive investigation or perception, sees like the name Sarcastique Under-Tony, and maybe because of the the chaotic goodness, the plot armor that follows Duncan wherever he goes. This is one of the rare instances where he like critically succeeds on a history check, and then he just his eyes widen and he's like, "Good sir, you are the one with which people swear their oaths and names by here in this realm. You are the Sarcastique Under-Tony." And I feel like Duncan goes through this grand gesture of like kneeling on his knees and like bowing before him, kind of like, "Oh, the legends that they tell about you surely eclipse anything that I have to tell." And he's gonna like butter him up, do a charisma check and persuade, and just how does Sarcastique take it? He seems to have an adoring fan in front of him.
I will not discuss other people's business and other projects. Additionally, none of this helps me find the dog. So, will you sign the paperwork or not?
Oh, oh, the stories are certainly true of you being very keen for business. And without a second thought, Duncan just signs his name on the contract and hands him back the thing. He's like, "Right, well, what's the job? What's the mission? What are we off to go do?"
To find the lost dog. I thought you accepted and you understood.
Right. But I mean, is there like the caves of crankiness? Is it the marshes of madness? Is it the peaks of perilousness? He's like trying to name some of the alliterative places that exist within the Feywild.
I do not know. I've been just trying to track this dog all day, and these are where the paw prints have led into this part of the woods.
Aha. All right. Okay, so that it sounds like Duncan is gonna just join the adventure, and then as the camera sets and shows them setting up for their side quest adventure together, the paw prints will show them leading to this well, and then Duncan looking down and is like, "Hello," and then like waits for an echo and one doesn't appear. He lights a torch and he drops it down and he sees like the light just gets extinguished, and then he looks over at Sarcastique and is just like, "Huh, well, impenetrable darkness. and he looks at his wrist-mounted grappling hook device, and he's like, "This reminds me of the adventure that got me this contraption. A whole forest that was submerged in magical darkness." And just basically is looking to Sarcastique to get like his professional opinion before I guess they just will dive on down.
You've dealt with magical darkness before?
Oh, yes. And he's about to go off on another tangent about the side quest where he was helping out an orc artificer get a crystal of power in an abandoned mine on the other side of this forest that was, shrouded in impenetrable darkness. But that was back in the mundane world, not the Feywild. So I don't know if magical darkness has the same sort of quirks as it does in that realm.
And this is like when he finally sees Sarcastic, who's been incredibly patient and just waiting for either an oral agreement, which is binding in the Feywild, or a written one, which he prefers to have documentation. Here he hurriedly and impatiently like cuts him off, and he's like, but how dangerous is this for dogs? I mean, are they able to breathe? Are they able to are they able to are they aware of their own selves if they cannot see anything? I'm very concerned if a dog fell down there. How would they know which way is up if to doggy paddle if there's water?
Now I think Duncan will roll like an insight check, and this is probably also another rare occurrence where he does really well on his insight check. So what's Duncan picking up as he can tell now, like, oh, this guy has been like very cool and aloof and not wanting to open up, but now suddenly he's like caring about dogs all of a sudden. So like, what's Duncan really picking up on this?
Oh yeah, no, he is just deeply concerned for the well-being of this dog, and he sees something. This is the first time that he recognizes something in Sarcastique that he's familiar in himself: a reckless abandonment for good, to put his well-being far on the line into the wayside in order to help another, and in this case it's for this lost dog. Genuinely is concerned in a way that Duncan can very much relate to.
Yeah. Yeah. Duncan has this newfound like respect and look over at Sarcastique, and he's like, well, the well looks too small to have a black dragon in it because that was what was causing the impenetrable darkness in the last thing I was in. So,
Big
you know
sigh of
what?
relief coming from Sarcastic. Anyone else, the audience would be like, of course it's too big for a black dragon. But that is just how much Sarcastic gives a about these dogs, as he even puts that to he doesn't even, the logistically, obviously it doesn't make sense, but for him, the fact of hearing that from someone who's experienced this before is a big load off his shoulders.
So then Duncan, without wasting too much time, sensing this comradeship with him, is going to work to like secure a rope and a line and like throw it down. And then, before the scene will cut, Duncan will grab onto the rope and he'll just be like, well, into the depths below. And then he'll just be like, "Ah," and he like disappears down the well as he's zipping down the rope. And so as the camera is left on Sarcastique Under-Tony, what's his final line or his final beat of the scene that he's going to do before it would jump to the next chapter in the DVD?
I think Sarcastic would take another breath, kind of compose himself, adjust his pens in his pocket protector, and for the first time, even in Sarcastique's time, there's a smile. Subtle, but there is a little bit of hope that someone else cares about these dogs as much as he does. And he jumps in after him.
And scene. That's how you do it on this podcast. So what do you think it was like getting to be Sarcastique Under-Tony in that scene?
It was great. It was so much fun. That would be somebody I would love to do a campaign with or have as a reoccurring NPC. That's definitely somebody you want in your corner.
Yeah. No, I feel like he would be a very strong person to introduce into my own game and be like, oh, so how much do I want to change some of the established lore of how I think the Feywild works to now introduce this John Wick sort of fellow working for a Babushka hag that's somehow regarded in like the Fed sort of status within the Fey court. So no, it's very intriguing, and if he's not featured in your upcoming campaign, well, then you've already got your next campaign on the back burner for like, okay, we're gonna do
Absolutely.
Gotham, Gotham in the Feywilds or something like that.
Love it.
Yeah. So this is the final thoughts section of the show. So I always like to, turn to the guest and ask them how they thought their time was on the podcast, and feedback and critiques and all that other sort of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Nicole, I totally get everything that she said. It lives up to all the hype, and I get why she came back and is excited to come back again. I know she's talked about it. And I think it would be a lot of fun to get all of the story crafters on here. That was honestly my thought.
Yeah.
Was to get everybody, get a character and do a little 15-minute side quest. It would be so fun.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting. I mean, because I know on this podcast we've made, where we've had like, I think the most that we ever had is we had when the five-sided fates first came on, there was like five different NPCs we've made. So I don't know if we'd have to get to those sorts of numbers, but having all four of the story crafters on, you could make like a little NPC adventuring party or something like that that
Yeah.
people could come across, or something like that. Or you be very meta and it's like, oh, these four storytellers that you just always see around a campfire just talking about life and stuff like that.
I think that would actually be the perfect encounter. I think it would be, every adventuring parties have to set up camp somewhere, right? They're
Yeah.
going to look for a place that seems naturally, some degree of shelter back
Hmm.
to, a cliff face or a shallow cave. It
Hmm.
makes sense that if they go there, that they could run into another adventuring party that's taking rest there. And they, ask to, hey, can we set up camp over here? And
Yeah.
that's what they could run into. What does that other adventuring party look and sound like? What are they up to?
Yeah. Well, definitely a good idea. So, we'll have to pencil that in, put that in the
Yeah.
schedule, and see if we can make that happen. But yeah, yeah. So, this is final thoughts. So I always want to leave here in the last moments of the podcast to the guests. So this is your soapbox, your stage, your microphone, your platform. So for your plugs, where can people find you online? Where can we support you in all your variety of projects? And then if there's any passions or causes we need to be made aware of, let us know.
Yeah, you can. So I try to keep everything social media wise inked GM. Twitch is Ink Game Master. And you can also find me with the Story Crafters. Big shout out to Jeff of Jeff Rogers Gaming, Nicole Game Master Mom, and Jared World's Okayest Crafter. That is not what we interpret him as. That is his Instagram handle. He's actually quite adept and very talented. But I'm here doing the Side Quest podcast with you, and the Story Crafters podcast is something that we like to do and have fun. Love to people to come over there and give a follow and listen to us. And if they want to follow my personal stuff, they're more than welcome to. Try to do a variety of things, but ultimately, just like to give back when I can and support and share some tips and tricks. But ultimately, biggest thing everybody can do is drink some water, take care of yourself, don't be so hard on yourself, love one another, and be kind, and try to remember that the best mark of a D&D game, in my opinion, is as long as you're winning if everybody at the table is having fun.
Hmm.
And if you can try to lead with that same mentality in your own life as much as you can, I think that would be great. So I wish everyone listening the best, and to support you and all the goodness that you're doing over here. And I hope your next dice roll is in your favor.
Yeah. And if the story crafters are ever looking to make a little more room on the log around the campfire, I'm certainly happy to
Yes,
lend my voice if you'd ever like me. Not that I always try and
absolutely.
invite myself on to other people's podcasts, But wonderful, Charlie. This was an amazing time getting to make this character, to learn more about you, and to promote the story crafters. And
Thank you.
so thank you. And you know what? I can't wait to have you back on the podcast, making even more interesting NPCs. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Overcast, or YouTube, or feel free to save the RSS feed to use the app or player of your choice. Visit our website, sidekicksandsidequests.com, for links, write-ups of the NPCs, and to learn more about the show and the guests who have been on it. To stay up to date and interact via social media, you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram/Threads, Twitter/X, and Reddit by searching for Side KQ Podcast. You can also find our small Discord community as well online. I would love to talk D&D and showcase your fan art, stories of how you used our NPCs, discussions, and commentary. And hey, if you'd like to hail the bard and send me a message, an email, you can do so by communicating with sidekicksandsidequests@gmail.com. To help this show be the resource it's meant to be, I ask that you leave a review on iTunes, 5 stars, please, to help spread the word and share our podcast with your friends and family. Whether you're a veteran player or an aspiring dungeon master, there's something here for everyone, and I want to hear about it. As mentioned in the NPC creations section of the podcast, I do in fact have a Patreon for Sidekicks and Sidequests. If you love this podcast and what we're trying to do here, I would appreciate it if you would just go to the website, patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. No matter your lifestyle expenses, we have wonderful rewards at every level of Patreon membership tier. Modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic accommodations await, and we welcome all patrons to the levitating platter. Seriously, your financial support allows for this passion project to continue to invest in itself through the tools that will take our production to the next level, as well as provide more content for our patrons and the community at large. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you can.
Sidekicks and Sidequests is unofficial fan content permitted under the fan content policy.
Meaning I'm not approved or endorsed by Wizards.
Portions of the materials used are property of Wizards of the Coast.
Copyright Wizards of the Coast,
LLC.
Thank you for your support, and I'll see you at the pub next time.
Bar to rock on 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sidekicks and Sidequests.